RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, opinions, or statements of its guests or advertisers. The information on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this show is not to be considered an endorsement. As always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News for Friday Night Livestream. Contrary to what you may have heard, I am not dead. I'm not going anywhere. Locked and loaded is right. Yeah. Simone says hi. Well, guys, tonight Ole Dammegard is going to be here on the show. This is a pre-recorded show, but I'm going to be here the whole time with you in the chat. We're going to talk a little bit before the show starts. Ole lives in another country in Europe, far, far away, so he couldn't be here live. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a wonderful show all the same. Yeah, Simone, hello. All right. Well, guys, I am excited. I'm looking forward to seeing you. It's been a minute. Glad to be back. Please understand that now sponsors are more important than ever. So please sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from my amazing sponsor, the Solar Water Heater. Father's Day is approaching, and a great gift idea for any dad is the Solar Water Heater. Now, the Solar Water Heater is an amazing new device that allows you to heat and boil water outdoors simply using sunlight. Depending on conditions, the Solar Water Heater can heat water in as little as 30 minutes and will work anywhere the sun shines. You can use it to boil water, cook noodles and rice, or sterilize water for drinking. The Solar Water Heater is the perfect tool in times of need. Limited supplies are available, and this is the very last chance to get it at 15% off the new 2020 model before they sell out. Take advantage now and give your dad the perfect gift this holiday. Please visit solarwaterheater.com. Once again, that's solarwaterheater.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. And happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, as I am one of them. Thank you so much for joining us once again for another episode of Friday Night Livestream. I just want to say to everybody here in the audience, want to let you guys know how important you are to me. Thank you for helping me build this channel over the last 2 years. I would not have been able to do it without you. Let me throw on the slow-mo just so that we don't burn our eyeballs out. Let's see here. Sorry, I should have done that while the commercial was playing. But, all right. So, something happened this week with this platform. They took away my monetization. And I know some people thought maybe I wasn't going to make videos anymore. But I want to let you know that that's not the reason I make videos. The reason that I make videos is so that I can bring you guys amazing information and try to help wake up the world. So tonight, I have Ole Dammegard to play for you guys. He and I did this interview about a week ago, and I've just been waiting for the time to be able to play it. And it just so happened that it was tonight after this, thing happened this week. I'm still very rich in my life. I have everything that I need. I have the love of incredible people in my family. I have you guys here in the audience, and without that, maybe, things wouldn't be as good as they are. But I am blessed beyond belief, and I'm so happy that I'm here with you guys, that I'm able to bring you these shows, and that I'm still able to be here on this platform. Now, I wanted to tell you guys that, of course, if you want to support the channel, you are welcome to that. You guys know me. I've never been one to get on here and e-beg, and I'm not going to do that right now. The most important thing is that you guys are just here watching with me. If you do want to help, number one, liking and sharing the channel. Number two, making sure that you are still subscribed. Number three, making sure that your notifications are turned on. Tell other people about the channel. Help me spread the word. Help me build this channel even more, because that is my goal. I want to get out to as many people as I possibly can. And excuse me, I'm getting a little choked up. So that's what you can do to help support the channel. Now, the other options are down there too. I still have a Patreon. I still have a Subscribe Star. I still have the PayPal account. I still have the Cash App. All of those are down there. Now, I also have a new interface through Streamlabs. I only just set it up tonight, so it's a little rough. But there's the link right there. You just go to redpill78.live and you can watch the stream. It has the chat embedded right in it. And it looks to me like it's working better than YouTube's chat. So I don't know. But I honestly would like for you guys to check it out and tell me what you think. I want to know what if you like using that way of watching the show. I'm going to be, jazzing it up and making it look better as time goes on. But I only had so much time today to put it together. So, Bob, what did you say? We're all here for you, Red Pill. God bless you and your family, bro. Thanks, dude. I really appreciate it. And like I said, man, I'm so serious when I say that you guys mean the world to me. The very fact that I have anybody who wants to listen to what I have to say or is interested in what my opinion is, I never ever in my wildest dreams considered that this is what my life was going to be, that I was going to be working every day to support the mission of the president, trying to bring our country back from the brink. It's a tongue twister. We have, as a country, slid in the wrong direction for a long time, and I am so grateful that I have the opportunity to try and help push us back in the right direction. And that's why I have my official Trump jacket on right now. I got this. Ooh, yeah, here it is. I got this at the Trump Hotel. Real Red Pill girlfriend and I, we were in Las Vegas last year driving to California, and we stopped and stayed at the Trump Hotel. It was an excellent hotel. It was an excellent deal too. Believe me, I am super cheap. I like to make sure that I get a good deal on everything. She'll tell you in the chat, I'm sure. I want to thank the president, all right, because without President Trump, our country would be in a far, far different situation. I am eternally grateful to the sacrifice that he has made to help save our country, and what he's done with his family, everything that he has put forth, all the time and effort, the sacrifices that he has made. To me, this one sacrifice, if it lasts, is worth it. I can still keep doing this, and I can still keep bringing you guys the news. Nothing's going to change with the schedule. Nothing's going to change with the way I do things. It's going to be a little more difficult for me to read the chats because, you can't super chat anymore, Baby Love 78. You can still support the channel through PayPal, Cash App, Subscribe Star, and Patreon, and there may be something more in the future. I'm working on, putting together as many possible options for you guys to watch the show as possible. I'm talking about DLive. I'm talking about Twitch. I'm talking about making my show a podcast. So if you guys don't even want to listen on YouTube, you can just tune into the podcast. I know that there's got to be people out there who like to listen that way, like Dan Bongino. I prefer Dan Bongino as a podcast, not necessarily as a YouTube video. Would I shave? You want me to shave? Why would I shave? Why would I shave, man? I don't want to shave. I feel like, the beard is me. I've had this beard for so many years now. I wouldn't want to do anything else. Trump is not an agent. White Hat, what's up, buddy? Who thinks that President Trump is an agent? I mean, in a certain respect, he's an agent of good. He's an agent of change. I don't believe that President Trump is like an agent of the federal government. I mean, he's the commander-in-chief guy, COC. He has all of the agents under his control. He doesn't need to be an agent himself. Yeah, Hog is with me. He prefers Bongino on YouTube. Oh, no, you prefer him on YouTube. Maybe it's because I listened to Bongino for so many years as a podcast before he ever switched over to the YouTube thing. I don't know. I don't know. All right, guys. Yeah, never shave. Thanks, guys. Never shave, please. You know, back me up on this. I think real red pill girlfriend would not like it if I was to shave. Agent of God. Yes, Wheezy. He is an agent of God. That's 100%. All right, guys. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be in the chat with you guys, and you'll watch the show, and I'll go ahead and talk with you, and then we'll answer some questions afterwards. How's that? Okay. This is going to be an extra long show tonight, so RDoc, please. I'm so sorry, buddy. I just got to make sure we get everything on the table. All right, you guys. Love you so much. Thank you for being here. And before we go any farther, here comes Ole Dammegard. All right, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Joining me in the studio right now for a very special broadcast is Ole Dammegard, researcher, author, and an incredible person. Ole, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well.
Blowing smoke up my butt, I feel.
Well, it's the honest-to-God truth. So, Ole, for anybody in the audience who might not be familiar with your work or who might not know who you are, please just give us a brief introduction to who you are.
I've been trying to spend my time here on Earth wisely. I've been trying to do the best of each and every day. And I come from a background as a reporter, a journalist, a photographer, and I've just taught myself everything along the way. And for some reason, I don't know how, but around 1980, I got very, very interested in the Jfk assassination, almost obsessed. And that took me to several different countries. This was way before the internet came. And at that time, JFK was like for nerds, absolute geeks only. I mean, I didn't know anyone who was interested, but there was something extremely fascinating about the operation itself, which is a masterpiece when you look at these type of operations, multi-layered. I mean, still after all of these years, we're so confused. Very few of us researchers do agree on anything, hardly, so it's like incredibly well carried out. But also what got to me was this massive psychological operation and propaganda thing that was being pumped at us, because with many of these big assassinations and other operations, if you have some kind of a brain working, it's a no-brainer. I mean, like Robert Kennedy, Sirhan standing in front of him, 6 feet, no, closer than 6 feet, firing all shots straight from the front, and Kennedy being hit 3 times, actually 4 very close, directly point blank from behind and to the right. You don't have to be sort of like a rocket scientist to be able to figure out, maybe the shooter was actually positioned behind him and to the right, not in front of him and not getting close to him to be able close enough to be able to do these type of, and then, I mean, this is a murder, Robert Kennedy, that also so many years later, we had these high, very intelligent experts that are saying there might have been a conspiracy. Come on. It's like, come on. I'm like, sometimes I get like a brain meltdown. Years ago, I was sitting watching some of the videos of the Twin Towers coming down, and my 4-year-old daughter came in. She was just playing around, jumping around naked, happy and stuff. And she stopped and watched what I was looking at. And she said, what is it? And I said, so I told her the official story. And then he said, but Dad, why are you lying to me? I'm a child, I'm not stupid. And then she left. And I felt, hallelujah, baby, that is exactly it. That is a mind that has not been pumped up with all the type of crap and indoctrination and stuff. She was just watching it. I mean, dustifying these incredibly big buildings, impossible in a natural way. You cannot do it. And once again, you do not have to be an incredible scientist or very smart. It's like if you can take a Coke bottle, empty it, fill it with jet fuel, turn it on fire, and dustify a house with it, I will believe you. Until then, this is what you get from me, and that's about it. So many of these things, it's just like right away if you have an open mind and you just see it, it's like, holy crap, what just happened? And then over the years, I got myself more and more onto a higher level. I started looking up witnesses. I started looking up people that were. Are you still there?
Yeah, your video shut off.
My video shut up.
Yes.
Let me just see what happened.
Okay. And we're back. No audio, though. No audio now.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Okay.
Excellent. Sorry, you need to do some cutting there.
Yeah, it's not a problem. There's always a little bit you have to do.
No, anyway, so
talking to witnesses.
Yeah, talking to witnesses, looking up. I mean, I got really, really deep. I was extremely interested, because also this JFK led me into Robert Kennedy, led me into Martin Luther King, led me into Abraham Lincoln, Malcolm X. And it was just like, after a while, I started seeing that, whoa, hang on a second. I thought these events were totally separate, that there was no connection between them. I had no idea that there were any, unifying factor behind it. But over the years, I started seeing the exact same people popping up right, left, and center. I was just like, are you kidding me? What is going on here? And then the Swedish Prime Minister, Olof Palme, was officially killed or allegedly murdered in 1986. And to start with, I thought he was not a very nice guy. I didn't like him, but it was a trauma for the country of Sweden, where I grew up. I'm born in Denmark, but grew up there. And so, but I thought, Sweden was this beautiful country, the perfect nation. We've been told that over and over when you live there. And so I thought, of course, the Swedish police, that is not corrupt, and they will get the guy within a few months, and boom, that's it. And then the exact same thing started appearing, the exact same pattern. And that was the point where I was able to, when I had studied the other cases, I started being able to predict what was going to happen in Sweden with that investigation. And when I started to do that, it just pulled the carpet under my feet, because I felt like a black hole opening under me. Like, this country is not what I thought it was. I thought, everything that I believed about this nation is not true, because how can an operation on that level be connected with these other major ones where you can see a very, very dark hand behind them? So anyway, so I've devoted many, many years of digging into these, trying to expose these. I've written a book, almost 1,000 pages, of the assassination of Olof Palme, the Swedish Prime Minister, but with connections globally. They are so connected to George Bush Sr., the Iran-Contras, pedophile trafficking, arms dealing. When you get into that level of politics and also operations and why they terminate individuals, you're in the same hornet's nest. It's the same that just keeps repeating. And then somehow this led me into the area of alleged mass shootings and alleged false terror attacks. Mm-hmm. What we were being told were terror attacks, or what we were being told was mass shootings, which in the beginning, I thought, oh my God, a mass shooting. I totally believed it. But then I started looking once again, just like take it apart piece by piece. What did he really say? Or what did that witness say? How is that? And so I started trying to get on location. And I've been to, I'm a one-man band with a small little team around me now, wonderful people that are devoted to the truth. But I tried to go there, and I've been on location so many different places right after these operations happen, when they're still active, trying to just see what happened, not trying to prove anything, just trying to understand what went down here. because every time something like that happens, you have all of these very hard consequences that hits the population of that area and globally, because they're being used to hammer us all. This fear porn that is being pumped at us. So that is what I've done, and what I've for some reason, I mean, this one is a bit like Rain Man in this area. I don't know, put me in a kitchen or in a restaurant taking orders, total disaster. I would be Mr. Bean. I would forget whatever anyone ordered as soon as I turned my back to him. But in this area, for some reason, I don't know why, this one is like a database. I can remember everything. I mean,
it's true. I mean, from everything I've seen. Now, when you were working as a reporter, what kinds of stuff were you reporting on? I mean, were you reporting on political stuff? Were you reporting on war? Anything like that?
No, politics has never. It was like a friend of mine was asked if he votes, and he said, "No, I do not support organized crime." that is the way I see politics as well. When you get to that, so for me, politics, absolute waste of life to even look at it or listen to it. Not saying that I don't want the world to change for the better. That massively is something I'm trying to do. But this whole word, not interested at all. I mean, and also once you start seeing that, once you get up to a certain level in politics, everyone, to get above that, you need to corrupt yourself, or they need to have you by the balls. Otherwise, you're not allowed in on that arena. So, and they will tell you whatever you want to hear before the election, and they will do whatever they want, out of loyalty to their real employers once they're in office. So, criminals, that's the way I see it.
What do you think about President Trump coming into power here in America? Do you think it's the same thing, or do you think that he's, operating amongst them but not a part of them?
I have absolutely no idea. Okay. I normally, after all of these years, have a pretty good understanding of stuff. Around Trump, I have no idea. I want to say a thing that sounds bizarre, but there was an incredible researcher called Dick Gregory, a former stand-up comedian, a black guy who was friends with Halle Belafonte and Martin Luther King and so on. Incredible guy. Very brave, who stood up for truth and exposed a lot over the years. And a few years before he died, he went out when Trump was coming up on stage. He said, well, it's well known that there are two Trumps, one with a red tie, one with a blue tie, that they're not just one person. And that's his words. I don't know. But when you see his actions, it's very often feels like this to me. It's like going in two totally different directions. And also when you look into any kind of PSYOP, psychological operation, or military operation, when it comes to black ops and so, there's almost always a diversion. Boom, something goes off over there. There's a fire in the industrial area over there, so that the fire brigades, everybody goes there, the police goes there, instead of looking at what's actually going down. And here we have someone like, he is almost like a diversion as a person, and he's like a joker in the game. Like, let's buy Greenland. What is that? That is, for me, look over here, look away from what's going on. Let's build a wall and make them pay for it. Everybody's looking that way. And I've been contacted over the years. I've been touring a lot, and 15 countries, and doing almost 1,000 interviews. I was contacted by, among others, 2 times, people that said, you are describing, when you describe how false flags are carried out and how they do them, you are describing my job. And I said, so what do you work with? He says, I'm a close-up magician, a close-up illusionist. And he said, what you're talking about, we are learning in magic school, or whatever they call it, Hogwarts University. I don't know. But, like, how to make people look over here, look at this hand, when actually it's happening behind my back with this one. How to divert, how to make people think that they chose the card, that they did that. No. It was selected before. So you think that you made the choice, but you didn't. that the magician did it beforehand. And it's the same here. It's a psyop. And when it comes to Dear Donald, very, very confusing. Then also you have, in addition, you have the technology nowadays with video effects, where you can actually have in live footage, someone like myself can have like these, I can't remember what they're called, but like markers, digital markers that is connected to a live feed, so that I can be like this, and you have the live feed from Donald Trump. I can say and do things with my face, and it would look like he's doing it.
Deep face, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and you can see it. Many have on their cell phones and stuff like that. These apps that put a rabbit's face on yours. It's exactly that. So the one that controls media can also do massive psychological operations, and we don't even. You have this lately. There's like, I know that Donald Trump has done a lot of press conferences, and he's standing there saying stuff and fiddling with his hair. But normally there are two flags in the background. One, I can't remember which ones are the two flags in the background. Right. Also, you got the podium where he stands, and you got the seal of the White House, I believe it is. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're there, two flags and that seal. And sometimes in the what seems to be the exact same room, one flag is missing and the seal is gone as well. Mm-hmm. So what is that? You know, like, what are we looking at? And so I believe that one Donald Trump, if there are actually more than one in this world. I mean, I know there's 4 Hillary. Mm-hmm. I've been part of writing books about that. When you look at the photos of it, doesn't even look anything like it. You know, like one is quite fat and short, mm-hmm. another one is taller, one is really old. You know, so we got all of these individuals that sounds like crazy theories, but you just look for yourself. Sure. And then here, anyway, so Donald, I have no idea. Well, I love if it's true that he's going to drain the swamp. I applaud it. Please get it over and done with. But I also see that he surrounds himself with people that are totally involved in the other side, the dark side. Mm-hmm. So,
well, from my perspective, I've studied Donald Trump quite extensively. I talk about politics. I mean, in regards to what he's doing to drain the swamp, and for me personally, I never voted Republican until President Trump was elected, and at that time, what really made me decide that perhaps I should start looking at him as a viable candidate was the fact that universally, whether it was the media or the Republicans or the Democrats or even people in business and media that used to previously laud him as a wonderful person, all of a sudden they all universally hated him, and he became the worst person in the world, and we should never vote for Donald Trump. And so then he comes into office, and almost immediately he starts passing executive orders with dealing with RICO, international criminal trafficking organizations, narcotics, and essentially laying the groundwork, from what I could see, to actually begin draining the swamp. Now, your point about having people surrounding him, often which are of the swamp, is something that many people have brought up. But from what I've watched, what he'll do is he'll surround himself with those people. He still does what he thinks is best for the American people. And then when those people are no longer necessary, he casts them aside. Now, by doing that, he makes the cabal itself think that he is being controlled. Your point about psyops, I believe that there is a psyop going on, but it's not on us. It's actually on the cabal, because his misdirections, the things that he says, he will essentially get their attention and have them looking at one thing when behind the scenes he's passing some important piece of legislation or something like that to essentially continue to remove these people. And as we're getting closer to the election in 2020, I think we're going to see some major action. Are you aware of the 160,000 some odd sealed indictments in the United States right now?
I've heard of them, yeah. And no, I tell you, no one will be happier than I if what you say is true. But also, I tell you, if you look at any type of Hollywood movie, the underdog is what catches empathy from people. So also in this world of smoke and mirrors, because that's where we are when we're on that level of politics and operations as well, multi-layered, smoke and mirrors, total. So many times even the people involved in these operations don't know the bigger picture either. So I would not be surprised, and I would applaud dear Donald if he would be able to play the game like that and get away with it and actually make a difference. I've seen so many of these, well, now they've arrested 3,000 pedophiles here and this and
just
that.
happened today, yeah.
But have you ever seen them? Have you ever seen the names? Have you ever seen images? Or is it just another line on a press release saying now they've been arrested?
Yeah, I have. It's something that I've been tracking since he came into office, because I mean, if you can look at the numbers, I'm sure you're aware the number of people committing crimes like that has risen exponentially every single year since he came into office. And you look at presidents in the past, and they never did anything about it. Perhaps they might have spoken about it. You know, we have to stop child and human trafficking. But I actually have seen the people who were arrested. I've seen mugshots, and I mean, it's not. And I also look to see if they're reusing pictures. You know, I mean, like they reuse people in these events, and I haven't seen that. So yeah, I definitely believe that it's really happening, and children are being rescued. Now, I haven't seen pictures of children, but I mean that's not something they would do because they have to protect their identities because they're not adults. But honestly, I'm glad that you're at least open to the idea, because the proof is going to be in the pudding, obviously, for many people. Until I think that all of us, we've lived under the draconian rule of these people for so long. For a lot of individuals, it's difficult to imagine that we could ever truly escape from their grasp. So here we are. We're just continuing to live our lives. People like you are watching and cataloging. And then if it happens, hallelujah, wonderful day. Everybody's going to be very excited. But I wanted to know, what is the template that you use? What are you looking for when you look at these operations? You look at the assassinations of people like JFK, RFK, Olof Palme, and you put it into a box, and you can say, okay, I see these 10 things, and I know that it's part of the same type of operation.
Good question. It's I've never seen it written down. You know, I've never come across a document with it. What I've seen over the years are similarities in the operations, and it's sort of given me like, wait, that's there again. There's some very distinct detail, and it goes both for alleged mass shootings, assassinations, and alleged terror attacks. Most of the time, they follow very closely. It's like making a dish. You know, like if you're a master chef, you have specific ingredients to accomplish to make that specific dish. And it's the same here. So one of the things that are, what do you want? A mass shooting, a terror attack, or an assassination? Let's go for, they're quite similar. So let's go for, one of the giveaways are a drill, a security drill, or some kind of drill on location right before it happens, or it can be up to several months before, but often it's like a day or 2 or 3 before. It can even be on the exact same day, where there is a drill with a very similar scenario to what then goes live. That drill is there when sometimes it is for our security, but many times if it is an operation, the drill is there to get vehicles in position, crisis actors, directors, catering, makeup facilities, moulage trucks, dress, you know, the whole dressing. It's like a theater group, lighting, photographers, marketing agents, bodyguards, the whole shebang there. And at the drill there, they need to tell us beforehand, because they need us to bugger off, you know, so they need to clear the area, and they will say that it's for your security, we are now going to do this, so you just leave us alone and don't worry about it, we will handle this. But this is exactly where we should go there and really observe and film what they're up to, because that can help stop them. So the drill, absolute giveaway of a possible false flag attack. You have the patsy, somebody that needs to be blamed for it, because it's built on an old Roman template: problem, reaction, solution. They cannot just push these things on us. They need to do psyops so that we will believe a different story than the real truth, because if we know the truth, it will neutralize their operations. So the patsy is someone that will take the fall for it, and that patsy will also lead you to the truth, because they will try to point us in a certain direction. So if it's mass shootings, for instance, it will be they want the weapon to be the problem. So it's not, it would be, they also need to make it go emotional. So it will be women and children that would be hurt, or young students in high schools. Pretty. It's always pretty people. You know, they look good, and so the heart goes, oh, isn't that's the one they're wanting, because the basic structure is problem, reaction, solution. They secretly, the people behind all of these things, secretly create a problem, a mass shooting, a virus, a financial crash, a bomb, an alleged terror attack, whatever, to get the emotion from us saying, oh my God, that's awful, awful, something needs to be done. And then we turn towards the people we think are there to protect us, not understanding that it's actually them who have done it, who have created the problem. And every single time their solution will be the same: more and more surveillance, more and more cameras, more and more militarized police, more and more SWAT teams, more and more tanks in the streets, 5G surveillance, robots. Welcome to the New World Order wet dream, that type. And every single time we have to pay for it. The normal person, we have to give up our freedoms, we have to give up our liberty for our protection. It's always for our sake, because they really care about us. Absolutely not. So patsy, and the patsy will then also help push it in that way. So if it's a terror attack, they would blame it, for instance, on Muslim terrorists. They love the Muslim because they fit so well in the fear module, you know, because they look scary. They have scary names like Abdul Karim Karunkara. They're very different to John Smith, you know. And so they've got dark eyes, they got a big mustache, a big beard. And also they come from countries that most people have no idea that they even existed, but they sound scary. And then they have this religion that has been weaponized. The agencies have weaponized the words Muslim, terror attack, Islam, Quran. You know, as soon as you say Muhammad, oh my God, your mind at this point will say, oof, hang on, he could have a bomb on him, you know, or... So they've been very successful with that. So there's the drill, the patsy. Then also it will follow a very, very similar scenario. And it's the same script over and over and over. And it's like watching the same Rocky movie like 34 times. It's the same. And it's when it's terror attacks, then it's always Allah Akbar. The man was screaming Allah Akbar. He had a machete. Even though I've never seen a machete other in South American countries, but in Europe they chop the head of people with machetes, you know. So I don't know, maybe they get a special discount for multiple purchases of machetes, but they do. And then they're connected to ISIS very often, ISIS. But ISIS is just an update of Al-Qaeda, which is a total CIA creation together with Israel. Where actually the word Al-Qaeda means database. It's the name of the CIA's database of agents that they trained in Afghanistan during the Soviet occupation. They trained them. And then once they managed to say, when Ivan said, listen, I will go back home and have some vodka, I'm leaving Afghanistan because why are we even here? So the Russians left. And there you had the CIA with all of these agents that they have been training, the Mujahideen and the Talibans and so on. What are we going to do with them? We've got Abdul and Karim and all of these guys that are trained in weaponry and so on. What are we going to do? Muslim terrorists. And so Al-Qaeda was created, and the biggest threat the world had ever seen. And so they did that for a long time because they need a boogeyman. In all of these operations, you need an outer enemy. That's one of the key ones also. The problem is never me. It's always out there. So they need someone to bark at you from over there. Al-Qaeda then, after some years, when Al-Qaeda had, I mean, you couldn't even scare a baby with the name Al-Qaeda anymore. So overnight, how did it happen? In came ISIS, the biggest threat humanity had ever faced overnight. Mm-hmm. Where did they come from? Well, it was just Al-Qaeda. They changed the name. And since then, they've been playing ping pong with the name. So it's IS, ISIL, Daesh, ISIS, and so on. Because it's the same, but they do like this. Whoa, 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 whoa. Like this. So we would think, whoa, what? You know, it's all the time the fear theater. Then you will see another part of these operations are that the investigation is part of the crime. The investigation will be a non-investigation. It will point at the patsy, and whatever is uncovered of real evidence from people like myself and others will just be shut down, and witnesses will be harassed, threatened, sometimes killed. You know, all of it, it's the exact opposite. So the investigation, very interesting to watch. The people that step forward at press conferences afterwards and say, we have to stand united in the face of terror, there's one of them. You can just tick the box, boom, that's one of them. Then you can see the chief of police that stand up, yes, we're doing this and this, boom, there's another one of them. Compartmentalized, they do not know the bigger picture many times, but they are totally in these operations when it is a false flag. Then you have, after some years, when people keep digging into it, like Sandy Hook and many other of these big ones, and people just say, that doesn't match up at all. When you really start looking, it doesn't match up at all. What's going on? Then when the dark ones are getting threatened by us not giving up, they say, okay, we will appoint a commission, and the commission will have a beautiful name like the Truth and Justice or Stardust or something like that. That would sound really, really good. And then they appoint this commission. The commission is part of the crime. Their only task is to drag it out. And they will have very intense meetings, you know, overnight. And they would come out unshaven and say, we worked very hard last night, and we are discussing things, and we are coming to a conclusion within a year. You know, and it was just drag out. And in the meantime, there will be thousands of documents stacked on top of each other, meaning absolute nothing. And what they're doing during these meetings, I think, is they're having a lot of booze, throwing darts, you know, laughing at us, and just spending time, because that's the whole point, to just drag it out. So in the end, and also leak out stories to the media that they control as well, that will just in the end make us like, oh God, I don't want to hear another word, even if the truth is served to me, I don't want to hear about it. And like after the Swedish assassination of the Swedish Prime Minister, there's been 4 commissions that have cost millions of dollars. 4 commissions, and the commissions have looked into the commission before them, that looked into the commission before them, that looked into the commission before them, that looked into the investigation, that didn't look into the crime. So, you know, the alleged assassination of the Swedish Prime Minister is the biggest murder case in the history of the world. More than 2 billion Swedish krona. 2 billion and what have they come up with? Absolute zero. Really? Absolute zero.
So at the time that Olof Palme was assassinated, you had been doing this work for about 6 years. How deep were you at that time? I mean, had it become your full-time gig just researching, or were you still working as a reporter, and did you get a chance to report on Olof Palme's alleged assassination?
I worked as a reporter just up until a month before he died. Okay. And I was just he was coming down to a city close to where I live, but he was not a very nice guy. Arrogant asshole, I would call him, very looking down at people, and I didn't really like him. So I didn't go there. Otherwise, I might have gone there, and then he died it's said that he died just a month or so later. But after that, I never wrote about it. It was the year when I quit my job. And to start with that, I didn't know that it was this type of operation at all. I had no idea. It took me a year or two when I started seeing the exact same things, being played out that I found with JFK, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and so on. And at that point, I just felt, oh my God, this is unbelievable. So that's when I quit my job and I moved to Stockholm to get as close as I could to witnesses, to whatever. I started driving a bus, I was cleaning toilets, everything that was needed. And I spent almost 12 years doing what I could on location. And it's, it was a very bizarre time for me because I didn't know there were like foreign agents and assassins in Sweden. For me, it was like a bizarre movie. And then I started tracking them down and identify them. I even had a visit from one of them. I mean, shit scary.
Wow.
2 of my friends was murdered. And this is the reason why I live in Spain now, because we left very, quite urgently after that visit, because I felt it's not worth becoming a statistic, it's... So we moved to Spain, and there I started writing on the book, or finishing the book that took me 12 years to put together.
Wow.
So,
well, yeah. It's an excellent book, and this case is fascinating. So you say alleged assassination. What do you think happened to Olof Palme? I mean, why would he fake his own death, or why would forces greater than him fake his death?
Yeah, that is a very, once again, super question, and normally I need like a 6-hour presentation.
I know.
but what I'll tell you quickly is that Olof Palme was part of the elite. He was a Bilderberger. He was mingling with top people, Kissinger and these guys. Bush, he was involved in weapons deals with Bush and Oliver North, and so he was on that level, and he was looking at a very bright future as the head of the United Nations was what he was aiming at. Mm-hmm. He was also the peace negotiator in the war, Iran, Iraq, and so on. So he was a very high-level politician involved in many high-level things. But what happened was that he contracted HIV, or what is called the virus that is said to cause AIDS. There's so many questions around HIV and AIDS as well now, so that's why I say this. And it came to a point in 1985 where there was no way that he could get away with that the disease did not become visible in his face, and this was at a time where AIDS had just exploded in the world. Rock Hudson was the first big celebrity to step forward saying, I'm gay. And at that time, AIDS equaled gay plague. Mm-hmm. It was only connected with gay, homosexual activity. And so it was so shameful. And at the same time, he got it. So what happened, as far as I've been able to find out, was that the inner core, a very small little core group around him, had a series of crisis meetings where they said, what are we going to do? Because the Social Democrats in Sweden had almost 40 years in power. It's the longest, I think, in the world, almost like so it was not only a political party, it was also like a mafia power structure as well. And they were going down. So here we they were losing a lot of power. And then this happened. So suddenly it was not only about Olof Palme, it was also about the Social Democrats, it was about the Bilderberg thing, it was about all kinds of international strategic anti-nuclear power, big politics on a global scale. And so during one of these meetings, there were only like 5 or 6 people involved in the whole thing. One of them came up, his advisor, Carl Lidbom, came up with the idea, listen, you have 2 options. Either you step forward, you do the so-called right thing. You say, I'm very sorry, folks. I've had gay sex. I've got AIDS. I will, from now on, my name will forever be with the, AIDS stamped on my forehead. Mm-hmm. My family will live in shame forever. Everything I built up during my life has gone down the drain. That option 1. Option 2, and this is where the advisor came in. The exact same way that when JFK or Martin Luther King, the minute the bullet entered their skull, they became a legend. Their name was forever in fluorescent, with angel choirs in the background. They could not be criticized. Anything. They became this thing, a martyr, big time. So he said, why don't we do it like this? We create a myth, the legend Olof Palme, by killing you, because it's only by a brutal assassination that we can create that. But we stage an assassination. We don't make a real one. We stage it. So to start with, Palme was against it, and it was too risky, but they got the Palme family involved as well. And in the end, they understood this, and what the option is that since he had this very severe disease, and at that time there were no cure, they didn't know how to deal with it. So the idea was to have a double be killed, and then him transported out of the country down to the south of France, and then from then on live in some of the castles of the elite, getting the absolute best treatment. His lovers could come down there. Shirley MacLaine was one of them. His family.
I'm sorry, did you say Shirley MacLaine?
I did indeed, yes, Shirley MacLaine.
I was not aware of that part. I forgot.
She's okay. Even in my book as well.
Wow.
I have a signed photo from Shirley MacLaine where it just says, "Ole, keep writing,"
Wow.
And so and just with a small little plastic operation, he could have a life of freedom, best treatment, luxury. His family there, and at the same time, his name forever a legend, untouched. Boom. So, I mean, what would you choose?
Yeah, and I would think so.
But it got really complicated, because what they found out was that they couldn't just arrange for an assassination with their own people, because if someone like myself came along, started sniffing around, it would be over in a few days, because I would say, oh my God, this guy and that guy and this guy, all of them connect there, boom, that's case closed. So what they did was they hired a real hit team. The hit team was not aware of who hired them. They got a South African colonel, Craig Williamson, to put together his squad of people from different groups, different backgrounds, contractors, killers, cold-hearted killers, that were then trained at a place outside Johannesburg called Daisy Farm, and then flown into Sweden, where they spent several weeks before, stalking Palme, mapping his movements, where would be a good place to hit him, and so on. But the whole idea was that there would be one spider in the net, a police officer called Gustav Östling, he's like a Swedish James Bond, or he was, in the Swedish police. Very, very brutal individual, but very, very skilled as well. And his task would be to take care of this hit team, supply them with weapons, vehicles, food, lodging, whatever, move them around, together with some of his colleagues in a very right-wing police group that was called the Baseball Gang. And the idea was that he would help them, test their weapons and all of these things, supply them with all the material needed, ammo, weapons. And then right before the assassination, he would swap the ammo to blanks, so that the hit team would believe that they actually did a real hit. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was the whole idea. Because if you have a team that knew that this was a stage event, you would have all kinds of problem or possible problems in the form of blowback, people stepping forward, whistleblowers, or blackmail, saying, we know what you did, give us 6 billion more or more, so how could they do it? So that's why they actually recruited a real hit team, but it was Olof Palme himself that ordered it. But while doing this, he then started creating the legend Olof Palme. So he started destroying all kinds of evidence that was showing his illegal transactions, or in his involvement in illegal arms dealing and stuff. So suddenly he, in the fall of 1985, which was like some months before the assassination, he started behaving very, very strange, because he started doing totally opposite to what he had been doing, because he used to be a loyal Bilderberger, you know, bowing over for the big bankers and so on, doing what he was supposed to do. And here we have, and he was also like a Trojan horse, I tell you, because they used him in many different ways. And suddenly he was doing the exact opposite. He was stopping like arms transport that were going down to Iran, Iraq, gunpowder transports. Oliver North was sent over by George Bush Sr. to get some Stinger missile end certificate signed by Olof Palme for illegal arms dealing. And Olof Palme just gave him the thing and threw him out, saying, "Get the hell out of here. If you dare to show your face again, I'm going to nail all of you. So Oliver North went back to Bush, and Bush was like, "Are you what?" So, and also the whole NATO also was very, very alarmed by what he was doing, because he was starting to he wanted a nuclear-free zone around Scandinavia, meaning banning nuclear submarines and stuff in the Baltic Sea, which really affected, you know, it's right on the border to Russia. Mm-hmm. So it's like he was creating mayhem, and no one understood what he was doing, but he was actually creating the legend. So I tell you, at nighttime he was sitting there with that shredder and just thousands of documents written. So there was a series of meetings in Wiltshire, England, where NATO, if you call them NATO, started having these meetings saying, what the hell are we going to do? He's gone mad. He's gone absolutely mad. So at these meetings, it was decided, let's take him out. We need to terminate him, stop him before it's too late. So NATO sent in a hit team. Together with Bush, he had some people in that team as well, that went to Stockholm to map his movements around. And what they found was there were already a team there on location doing exactly that. So NATO thought, well, let's just, stealth. Let's just go right behind them. And in the end, make sure that the job gets done. And then we mess it up for that group so that there's no way that there can ever be any blowback on us. So we sabotage their operation once he's dead and mess it up for them. And well, it's a long story, but it's unbelievable. I'm writing a book now called Guilty Victim, where I'm writing in a Dan Brown novel version, where my intention is to write it as precisely as possible, so that the people that were part of the operation would just say, who the hell have leaked? Where's the problem? Who is it? That is my intention, and it's an incredible thriller. I've been looking up TV producers and Netflix and stuff, if they would open up for this idea, but it's at this point, until we get a crack through, it's but I'm preparing everything. I'm preparing so much for the day when the door opens. And
well, it would be a fascinating series to see that take place. Now, were you ever able to get firsthand witness accounts from anyone who had seen Olof Palme after his supposed assassination?
The answer is no.
No, okay.
No. He kept a very, very low profile, but I have indirectly got observations of him in Toronto and in south of France. And then, as far as I know, he died in Russia. He lived in 5 different locations outside Moscow, and he's buried in a small little town in Russia. I know the exact cemetery. So I would like to say, you're welcome to chop off my arm, my right arm, if his body is in the official grave in Stockholm. I tell you, it is not. There is an empty grave, just like in Arlington where JFK is supposed to live. There is an empty grave there as well.
Why do you think that JFK is not in Arlington?
Because I know from insiders that they dumped him out at sea.
Really?
A former CIA whistleblower, Chip Tatum, he overheard. That is not true. It was not Chip Tatum. It was James Files. He overheard Ted Shackley say that they got rid of him so that there would never be a possibility of them, exhuming the body, because of what they would find, because they would find a lot of pieces of mercury from the ammo from the last head that would just show, it would give a whole new level of understanding of the assassination. So that's why his brain disappeared. You know, FBI says it was because they didn't have room for it. I'm sorry, it's just the biggest office ever. And it was just the brain of the president. But sorry, no, we need to get rid of it. So that disappeared. And according to this insider, they dumped the body as well. And that follows a very clear pattern. Bin Laden as well, dumped at sea. Never, I mean, he died 2001, this whole 2011, absolute BS. So...
are there any other notable global assassinations that you believe were faked, or do you think that Olof Palme is the only one that you've identified so far?
Faked in the same way?
Well, I mean, obviously, all of them have a layer of subterfuge, but is there anyone who faked their death, who tried to make it look like they died so that they could, you know, go and live a life in another country?
There's quite a few, I must say.
Wow.
There's quite a few, and I don't say that lightly because I know. But do you know Chip Tatum? A CIA whistleblower. He was he is an incredible pilot, and he was a pilot for all the presidents from Nixon up to George Bush Sr., and he became the commander of Pegasus, an ultra secret hit team, George Bush Sr.'s private hit team, Pegasus. They took out at least 14, or they carried out at least 14 assassinations while he was commander for that team. He is the closest you can get to a James Bond as possible. I've done multiple interviews with him and so on. And he said that quite a few times he was flying people that he thought were dead. He flew them from the States to Canada and other places. And there are, it's a very, very strange area to get into, but there are many, many question marks around often people in the music business where they get up to their 50s and suddenly they're worth more dead than alive. And once they die, the sales just skyrockets. You have all of these memorial albums, you have all of, and you will see the setup before, or when people like that dies, Sony and other companies, it's within hours. Everything is the prices have gone up, the albums have been released. You will see the same build up, like a big giveaway when it comes to inside jobs, just like 9/11 and other ones. You would see insider trading at the stock market right before it happened. It goes up like that, and boom, that's when it happened. So people that knows it's going to happen are making billions. So the stock market is one place to look out for these places or things as well.
When you mention artists, are you referring to people like Michael Jackson or Prince? My girlfriend's a huge Prince fan, and if you tell us that you think Prince is still alive, she'll probably freak out.
I know too little about Prince.
All right.
There's some very strange things around that death, for sure. Michael Jackson, very strange things around that death as well. You also have to see where he was in his life. I mean, he had been totally destroyed with all of these pedophile accusations, and he was heavily in debt. He was, you know, and he was also in his 50s. I mean, he was almost, 55 or something like that when he died. So his career was also in a position where something like that could really help. You got Jim Morrison, very, very strange character. His father was the admiral that was in charge of the ship that is said to have been attacked and that was the thing that started the whole American involvement in the Vietnam War. The day that Jim died, his father left his position, so it was almost like both of them went off duty on the exact same day. They were officially total opposites, but they were following very similar agendas. Once you start looking into the Laurel Canyon, the CIA, the whole LSD, the whole hippie movement, the psychedelic, all of these things, when you start looking into it, how it was created, around Laurel Canyon, and we look out mountain, the CIA base there. It's so many of these things go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You got well, there's quite a few. Tupac is another one, very strange death. You know, like when you look at the crime scene photos, there's you look at the bullet holes at the vehicle where it said that he was shot. There's more than one vehicle. There's not the same vehicle in all of the different photos. It's
Tupac's one that people would just absolutely love to still be alive. But yeah, I mean, and they've recently made dramatization of it, where apparently there was some additional revelations that came out. Do you think that when we see dramatizations created, that's part of the operation, just to further muddy the water?
Sometimes, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like when you speak to insiders in Hollywood, they will tell you that there are people, you know, the people that say yes or no to funding, that they are totally connected with Pentagon. So nothing goes through if it's not cleared with Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
And so very often you have like, okay, you can do this, but you need to add this into the script, or you need to this character or something, so that it goes in their favor. But nowadays, when you look at mainstream media that are owned up to, I think in the US it's 96% or more, that is owned by 6 companies or fewer, and they are working with each other as well, controlling not only TV but also radio, book publishing companies, magazines, newspapers. So the ones that control that area can control the narrative very, very powerfully.
Absolutely.
So, and you have, I mean, it sounds like science fiction, but just look at the FBI's witness protection program, how they just come up with new identities. They relocate you, you change the hair color, you know, get a nose stub done, get some contact lenses, and boom, there you go, Breaking Bad. You know, it's like, it's almost at a point where if you want fiction, look in mainstream media, and if you want the truth, look at movies. Look at movies. They're leaking it out. You know, they're pumping out. Also, they're programming us to see that's the way it's gonna. That's where we're pushing you. That's where we're pushing you. And I mean, right now, I look out. This is day 68 in more or less total lockdown in Spain. I look out the window. It's like being in Black Mirror. I don't know if you've seen that series.
I have. Yeah, I'm a fan.
It's like, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. So.
Ole, what do you think about the Las Vegas shooting? Is that something that you tracked with any detail?
Oh God, yeah. And I've looked into hundreds and hundreds of these, and the one you pick is the Las Vegas one. I tell you, because that one doesn't follow the normal template at all. It is very different, multi-layered. I can tell you one thing: the official story, absolute baloney. There's not a true word or at all. But what actually happened there, I speculate. I know a lot. I have thousands of pieces of the puzzle, and I'm still very confused. Because when you look at high-level operations, often they are carried out with several operations going on at the same time, and the people that are involved in the different operations don't know about each other either. Meaning that if someone like me come along, it's like it will point in all different directions, and that is the whole point of this design. So here we have this mass shooting that was just bizarre. Very, very, very bizarre, to say the least. Stephen Paddock, absolutely not. Him on shooting from that window alone, absolute baloney. So not true. You can't even crush that window to do that. You can't get the weapons up there. It took them 75 minutes, even though they knew the floor and everything he was on, and still the police, it took them 75 minutes to get up there. Excellent police work, I must say, excellent. He's up there, guys, go get him. Yes, sorry, we just have to have lunch first and go for a little nap, and then we might consider it. But what I do believe happened was that there were one of the things that happened there, I believe, is connected to the Illuminati card game and death pool betting, where it is something, it's a bizarre thing that is becoming more and more popular. Death pool betting is you put money on somebody's death.
Mm-hmm.
The younger and healthier they are, the bigger the stake. And the one that gets the closest wins. And so in many of these operations, we've seen that type of betting has been going up before, and then things like this happen. How many victims were there? How old were they? How these things, and that have then paid off. The more I've looked into the so-called elite, or I have a lot of words that is not so nice that would describe them in a better way. The elite is their own words. They claim that they're at the top of the pyramid, but what we don't understand is that the pyramid is actually pointing downwards. They're at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, in the darkest of the dark. And these individuals have absolutely no scruples, very, very, very dark and satanic, sinister rituals. And it's bizarre when you go into these things. And one of the things that have popped up over and over again are witnesses from different of these parties, where they say that one of the things that they were invited to were not shooting ducks, not shooting deers or foxes, but actual people.
Oh, wow.
That they're human hunting, because at that level, they are so bored. When you got like $40 billion, and you have like 18 different homes and 2 luxury yachts and beautiful women and all the coke you can snort. And these people are thrill seekers, mm-hmm. Many of them. They're bored. So from insiders, they say that the ultimate thrill is human hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking almost at the Hunger Games, that type of thing that seems to be they're pushing this whole thing. And in Las Vegas, I would strongly suggest that is possible, part of what we saw there. One of the things we saw were that when you looked at the footage, I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos, all the different angles. You will see that there are some light that comes from the Mandalay Bay Hotel, mm-hmm. from different floors, but these are strobe lights, there's no sound, but it looks like somebody was shooting there with a machine gun. Mm-hmm. But this is afterwards, when people are being interviewed. In the background you can see the lights, but there seem to be shooting occurring from the top of the pyramid. That is right there. The whole setup also is like so Freemasonic with the pyramid, and the whole thing is like a wet dream for these type of events. But also there was one helicopter flying around where you can see that there was shooting from the helicopter, mm-hmm. down into the crowd. And there's a company in Las Vegas that they do exactly that. You can I can't remember how much you have to pay, but they fly out over the desert, and you can use all of these heavy machine guns, like boom, 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 mm-hmm. out there. And so the signal, the transponder signal from that helicopter is not the helicopter, mm-hmm. that they use, but it was a police helicopter, but that was not armed like that. So I think they just swapped the transponder signals to confuse the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but there were so many weird things with the body, with the morgue, with
well, the ratio of men to women who were shot, and women overwhelmingly had headshots. The idea that Stephen Paddock could, from that floor in the Mandalay Bay, shoot greater than 50% of the women that he killed directly in the head. It's ridiculous. And to your point about the helicopter, we've got the angle of insertion of the bullets. It's too perfect.
Yeah, but also there's so many of these alleged victims that's just absolute BS once again. Mm-hmm. There's one guy, he's lying in the hospital, and he was hit 3 times, boom, 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 in mm-hmm. the chest. We're talking about almost a kilometer away, from the shooter. You cannot, even with a sniper rifle, hit so close on that distance. It's like a thousandth of an inch, the change, and you can't do it with the recoil. Also you can just not do it. And he's lying there happily ever after, not even connected to to the machines in the hospital. So many of them are they're hit in the head or in the whatever, and they walk out the day after. They're sitting in press conferences, laughing, smiling. I mean, the last time I was shot with an AR-15 or something like that, I didn't feel too good for quite a while, but here they are, jumping around, almost having a dance thing. And then it was also in that where I found the hidden clues for the Parkland, the Florida Parkland high school shooting, was in the photo of Stephen Paddock when he was lying there, officially committed suicide. There's another one. I mean, Stephen Paddock is said to have the number 13 tattooed on his here on his neck.
Okay.
But the body there with the blown out brains had no tattoo, and he different ear shapes, and it's not even him.
Height as well. Yeah, it definitely wasn't the body. So I'm sorry, and you just said that you were able to predict the Parkland shooting based on the crime scene photos of Stephen Paddock.
Yep. I have up to date predicted 59 of these terror attacks and mass shootings up to 2 months before they happen on international radio. And the way I've been able to do that is not, and I've stopped several of them, it's not because I'm very clever or I got a crystal ball. It's because I was informed in 2014 by an insider saying, he called me up and said, "You're doing a good job. I've been following you for some years, but you're missing out on the clues." I was like, "What do you mean clues?" He said, "They're hiding clues in the forensic evidence." And I was like, why on earth would they do such a stupid thing? And he said, it's because of the law of karma. They are terrified of the law of karma because, I mean, they're up to a lot of bad stuff, so I can understand them. And he said that the way they interpret the law of karma is that if they show us, even in subtle ways, what they're going to do, and we do not react, that's just the same as us giving our consent. If they do it, then the bad karma is on our shoulders, not theirs, because they told us and we didn't do anything about it. Wow. And he said, in addition, if they show us, we do not react, and then they manage to pull it off, it even gains good karma for them. So it's totally on their selfish behalf that they leave clues hidden right in front of us. But And in the beginning, this was the fall of 2014, I thought he was just full of it. But then I started seeing, wait a second. And it was in the beginning of the Charlie Hebdo shooting in Paris, France. That was the first time where I saw, oh my God, I found things that pointed towards that he could be, that what he said was true. And once I started seeing that, I managed to connect 4 of these shootings. And after that, I saw, oh my God, he is so on. So that's when I started. So as soon as something happens, I'm looking for the clues. I don't look at the official story. I look for the clues. Where is it? Because very often it's hidden in one photo, packed with information. And so to come back to, you asked about the Stephen Paddock photo. It's very unusual that we see such a grotesque photo, close up, sharp image of someone who has committed suicide. But here we have it. He's lying there on the floor, has blown out his head, and you can see he is when you look at this photo, there's something very strange about it. He committed suicide officially with a revolver, meaning that the empty shells are still in the gun. But around him on the floor are shells, meaning that he was using all of these different weapons, they say. I think it was 32 different weapons, they say, that he carried up there. And the reason, I just want to point that out, the reason for all of these different calibers and stuff, I believe, is because whoever was hit with whatever they were hit with down on the ground, on the base level, could be blamed, well, he had so many different weapons. So that's why this bullet, but I think it was multiple shooters from around the area with many different types of weapons that were shooting down into the crowd. So we look at this photo, and one of the things I reacted was the blood behind his head, because and the carpet. The carpet is like a luxury hotel. It looks so grubby. It's like dark gray with black. It looks very dirty, very, very. And so half of the blood was sucked in by the carpet, and then it looked like somebody had poured ketchup on top of it. Not the color. If you've seen photos from real suicides. Oh, it's, for one thing, it's absolute gross, but also you got like a lot of brain matter, and also the color of the blood is very often light, not dark red. It's because of the oxygen in the coming in and out, and also from the brain itself. But here it was dark red and very, very thick, didn't match up at all. So also some of the empty shells were put on top of the brain of the blood. They should have been covered, because he could not shoot after he died. So boom, and he falls back on top of it, and the blood comes on top of whatever is there. And here we had the casings that were totally clean, but like placed in the blood. So that was a thing that whoa, could this be the photo? Because it's very different to many of the other crime scenes. Then the thing with the tattoo, the 13 didn't match up. His earlobes didn't match up. He didn't look like him at all. And then I started seeing that there was something strange about the way that the casings were on the floor. There were lots of casings around there. And it was like, I started seeing that it looked like an F, and then between it, next to it, if it was FFL or FLL, and then like there was a pattern on the carpet, like an arrow. So it was like FLL, I believe it was, and then this arrow. So I was like, what the hell is that? And then I was contacted by a woman in Florida. Please remember this, if it was in Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada. So it had nothing to do with Florida. But I have an incredible network in the whole world that are helping me sort of to try and find these clues and help me sort it out. So there was this woman in Florida who said, are you aware of that the shape of the blood behind his head is exactly like the Florida county that I'm living in? I was like, what? So I checked the map, and it was like identical.
Wow.
It was identical. And so I thought, and right next to it was the Fort Lauderdale Airport, International Airport, called FLL, FFL or FLL. It's even called Hollywood. Can you believe it? I love it. And there was another alleged shooting there at the airport 1 year before, where I found a clue that pointed towards Melbourne, the Melbourne car attack down there.
Yes.
So when I saw FLL, the airport name, and that county with the blood so close, I just put a circle around, and I said, please be aware, this could be the next one. This could be the next one. So I think it was 3 or 4 weeks later, boom, the alleged Florida Parkland shooting happened. And it was right at the edge of that circle that I'd put out there.
Well, I think the obvious next question is, Ole, are you tracking anything at this time that we should know about?
Well, we have a virus going on.
I'm not worried about that one.
No, it's... I don't know if you've seen, but I believe that I have... It's a very long story, but I was on tour in Sweden in October 2019, and I stumbled across things that put me on track to what I believe was like a European 9/11.
Okay.
It was a NATO operation with 39 coordinated attacks against Manchester and London in the UK, Paris, France, Barcelona, Spain, Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and 2 nuclear power plants in Sweden, one of them a nuclear power plant, and also a NATO operation that was simulating an earthquake in Albania involving Croatia as well. And the idea was that during the duration of 36 hours on October 23 and 24, going into October 25th, that they will unleash hell in Europe like this. The reason for the Rotterdam airport was that is the main port for food import into Europe, meaning you knock out that port and you can create famine within a week or so in Europe. So this is to make a long story short. When I found out and I started getting confirmation that when I saw could be true, I started doing it. This was on October the 21st. I went out and I did, I don't know how many short interviews on international radio. I have this fantastic network of brave individuals like yourself that very, like if I contact them and say, please help me with this, boom, 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 they're right there. So for 12 hours, I and my tour organizer, Johnny Cash, we were pumping out short interviews saying, this is what I believe might go down. And this led to that this whole operation that I believe was planned for October 23 and 24 was stopped. And it followed with a crisis meeting of all the defense ministers of NATO on the 23rd, had a big crisis meeting in Brussels. I have this from a freelance journalist who was down there who saw my warning. He said, we've been feeling a massive operation building up, but we haven't been able to understand what's going on. Then we saw your warning and suddenly everything made sense. So he said it was because of that warning that went out. There was several 100,000 views on, I put the views together on the warnings I put out there within 24 hours. And so he said, it's because of this, you have totally messed it up for them. And so I thought, fantastic. Because also, any other geek than myself, I don't think that they would have reacted. It was just like this Rain Man brain. I mean, I think divine intervention. I do not know how it works, but I'm just very grateful. Anyway, so the day came, 23rd and 24th, absolute nothing happened. But instead, there was this crisis meeting. And also, all the Israeli embassies globally shut down. Mm-hmm. Due to a strike, they said, for better wages. Really, Israeli staff that managed to organize a global strike to shut down all. I mean, I don't believe that at all. Yeah. There was also the very same day an article on a very highly respected website called voltairenet.org that said NATO near implosion. And so all of these things happen at the same time, where I believe this was planned as a coordinated attack. But what has this got to do with Corona? That's a good question.
Please.
Yeah. Because 5 days before that, there was a virus simulation in New York called the Event 201. But it's actually not Event 201. If you look at the coloring of the logo, it's all in gray except for the O. And the O is a globe. So it's actually Event 21, I would say, directly connected to Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. That's the whole thing. And in that simulation in New York, they had the exact thing that we are now experiencing on the virus side, with Bill and Melinda Gates. If you've ever seen a psychopath on a global scale, the size of, there's one involved in all kinds of horror, but disguised as a charity. Oh my God. Awful. You had the Johns Hopkins Hospital with a map that has been totally manipulated. You have the World Economic Forum, which is the 1% financially. And when you look into the agenda of the World Economic Forum, you will see it's the New World Order. They call it the Fourth Industrial Revolution, meaning destroy everything, and out of the ruins build their new world based on AI, 5G, smart cities of 6G, 7G, whatever they're gonna upgrade it to, but where we are in a total digital prison, and where 2/3 of us are bye-bye, chop, through vaccines and other stuff. Horror. So that was 5 days, and that was the coronavirus. You can go there, you can find Event 201, look at the show reels, look at what they were discussing. They were discussing exactly what are the chances. So this was 5 days before this 39 coordinated attacks was planned. So I am asking you, is it possible that this was supposed to happen at the same time? They had the drill, I described the drill before. They were going through everything there and then go live on October 23 and 24. And October the 24th, by the way, is the United Nation Day. And the United Nation is another structure of the New World Order. It's another death tool in this extreme corrupt power structure. But also on the very same day, October the 18th, you had the World Military Games in Wuhan, China, the exact location where you had more than 10,000 soldiers from more than 103 nations, United nations that were right in Wuhan, where they were having these military, World Military Games. And if you look at some of the supporters, financial supporters of that event, you have the connections to the Clinton Foundation, another super criminal organization. So I speculate, this is what I think happened. With the help of individuals like yourself who reacted very quickly and people that were just sharing, we managed to stop like maybe 50-60% of what was being planned. Also, one of the reasons why there's so many weird things going on now with empty hospitals and things that doesn't match up, is because half of the piece is gone. It was never activated. I think we managed to stumble into this situation by coincidence. We managed to jam like an iron rod into the gearbox of this death machine that was supposed to go live on October 23 and 24. Some of these attacks would be aimed at the United Nations and also NATO in Brussels, justifying military retaliation. That was also why they hit Pentagon. Had it only been the 2 or 3 or however many of the buildings you want to include in the 9/11 terror, they were civilian targets, but Pentagon was military, and that justified them to hit military. They want the military involved. So is it possible that all of this was supposed to go down at the same time? I truly believe that was the idea, and that when this was exposed, there was too many people became aware of it. So at the crisis meeting in Brussels, they just said, listen, we need to get off the radar here, lie low for a while, wait until this is blown over, and then when people get on with their normal life, we activate it. And by the way, what date should we take? Well, let's say January the 1st. What are the chances? Midnight, January the 1st, boom, the first case of corona appeared. And so, but was the idea that when all of this mayhem was unleashed in Europe, that all of the soldiers in Wuhan would be called back to help their country? You know, that's more than 103 nations that called back their soldiers, but bring in the virus. You know, and that then could be blamed on, oh my God, the virus was leaked out in Wuhan, but look here, all of the soldiers, they thought they were helping, and instead they brought the disease to their countries. All of these 100 countries would be officially infected like this in hours.
Are you aware that the countries that participated in those games in Wuhan are basically where all of the epicenters were all across the globe? In the countries that didn't participate, essentially had like little or no cases in their countries. And if countries bordered those countries, then they only had minimal cases as well. So I do think that the soldiers that were at those games ended up taking it and exporting it back into each of those countries, and then we finally saw it start to crop up. Also, are you aware that the UN's website is now UNNWO.org, the United Nations New World Order Project?
You are kidding me.
I cannot tell a lie. This is honest to God truth. I just saw it yesterday. I couldn't believe the brazenness of it.
Please share the link with me.
I'll be happy to.
But this is it. It is in our face. It is smack in our face. And you have to give it to them. I mean, how did they pull it off? I mean, we were living normal life, and the next day, everybody just went indoors, not a shot fired, martial law, and we just said, for our protection, we're going to stay in. This is day 69. I'm locked in. I mean, we've been more or less fully locked in, down, you know, like we can, I have a friend of a friend who was fined $15,000 for crossing the county border without papers. Wow. You know, it's bizarre. Well, Black Mirror.
So, you know, from my perspective, and I'd like to get, you know, understand what you see in Spain, but obviously with 9/11, there was a certain level of awakening that took place. I mean, I think that was probably the first time, at least in my lifetime, that people really looked at something in the middle of it happening and said, something's not right. And people began to research it. And then with the Las Vegas shooting, there was another level of awakening. Certainly the first time with a mass shooting event that I saw normal people coming up to me and saying, is this the stuff you've been talking about all these years? You know, is this happening? And now with the coronavirus, we have another layer of awakening because people are seeing that the hospitals are empty. People are realizing that they don't know anyone who's been infected. And even if they did get sick, it was just a regular flu. So we have essentially these graduated levels of awakening happening in society. And from my perspective, it seems that there are more people than ever before in the history of the world that are realizing how so totally and completely we've been lied to. I mean, are you seeing that in Spain or anywhere else in Europe?
I think for me, it's an amazing experience. I mean, it's like people are popping up like popcorn. It's just like a hard shell one day and suddenly boom, you know, just like a popcorn. When the heat goes up, they just pop. And especially, you know, like this Sweden where I lived many years, I'd given up. You know, I've been knocking on so many doors. I've been trying for so many years to say, please, I ask you, just look at this. Your nation is being taken over. We are going down and you don't even see it because you're too up here with your own ego and your iPhone and your smart TV, whatever. You don't even see it. And so I'd given up until a few years ago when I started touring. Now, oh my God, it's wonderful. It's like amazing. So many people, so hard-headed, you know, like now they see it. And it's sort of like, what is it they say? First they laugh at you, then they threaten you, and in the end they just say, well, I've always been on your side.
Right.
No, you have not. I can tell you, it's been a very lonely road for me for many, many years. But now it's like amazing. But it's almost like watching a dragster competition with good and bad, you know, the light and the darkness. And it is a spiritual fight, I think. It really is. We're down here on a street level, but there's things going on that are much, much bigger than us. I don't understand it. I just feel that I'm just playing my little part in it. And so I'm super positive, and it looks shit scary. And it's so, you know, like I'm here, we are in Spain where the military has taken over, so that the military is above the police and they can come in, they can knock in your door, you know, if they suspect that I have the corona. I mean, I know that I'm not very popular among the dark ones. I'm a major boil in the butt for them, I hope, if I've done my part correctly. So I live with the possibility of this door being knocked down. And if so, goodbye, farewell, Mr. Dammegard. So I have prepared, you know, I've got ropes hanging down the building. I'm on the 3rd floor. And I've got, you know, I've checked out the area. I know the alternative escape routes. It's not easy to get out of this city because with a few exit roads, you know, they can just lock you down. So I know the ways to get out. And at the same time, I'm so focused on just making this beautiful future happen, because I think we are at a verge. We are at crossroads where it's like not long ago, there were all of these gray shades, 50 shades of gray, you know. Now it's black or white. It's like there's no connecting dots between mainstream media and what you see on a street level. You see the news, hospitals, war zones, dead bodies everywhere. We need more ice hockey rinks to start, you know, like to just pile up the dead bodies. Then you watch Facebook, and I have insiders on Facebook that are working for the censorship department that say, but good guys, they say there are no photos of funerals. There are no memorial things, you know, oh, my granddad, he died from this. There are nothing that has to do with corona. The numbers totally manipulated by CDC in Atlanta, Georgia, which was created at it's a long story, but it goes hand in hand. CDC's, the official story is, or the official name is the Center for Disease Control. Absolute not true. It's the Center for Disease Creation. That's the correct word. That's where they create these, they are the owners of many of the patents for the Zika, the Ebola, the SARS, the MARS, these things. They are the ones also pumping out the numbers, and then backed by the World Health Organization, which is another of their creations. It's like all over the place, with the Rocket Foundation in the background pumping in money, and the World Health Organization that are the ones saying, how do you see that it's not a normal flu and it's corona? They are the ones giving you the guidelines if you're a doctor. Well, these are the symptoms that will look at them. Whatever it is, if you're in a car crash and you come in and your nose is running, they can name it corona, anything, even a slight suspicion, and then they pump you up with any new case of corona, 13,000. If you need ventilators, another 30,000. You know, even though ventilators are hurting people, it seems like, with these conditions, because many of them are not suffering even from a normal cold or pneumonia. We're looking into the area of 5G here, where the symptoms of 5G are very similar, but it's very similar to high. What do you call it? Like when you're up in a mountain, very high. They have this the symptoms of not getting enough air, high altitude.
Oh, altitude sickness.
Altitude, yeah, that's the symptom, but it's due to 5G. When they switch that on, that's also Wuhan is not just any place. It's the city in the world where they rolled out 5G a year ago in February 2019. 10,000 base stations. And you see people just fall over. You don't do that from pneumonia. You also have the exact symptoms and at the time of a normal flu and pneumonia. Like in mainland China, on a normal year without any viruses, you got between 2.8 and 17 million deaths due to pneumonia and a normal cold. So you just take away the normal cases and name them corona, and boom, there you go. You got a pandemic on your hand.
That's exactly what happened here in the United States, too. If you take a look at the historical deaths from pneumonia for like the last 3 years, all of a sudden this year, pneumonia deaths dropped to 0. And instead, they just renamed it coronavirus. Absolutely incredible.
It's a psyop. It's a psyop. And I'm almost at a point where I doubt that the virus is there. Because also, when you look at how the New World Order, how they structure the networks, you know, it's totally compartmentalized, but they need all of these cogs in the wheel, you know, everybody is doing their little part. But if you unleash a virus like that, you cannot control it. And the virus can start doing weird things, you know, it's out of your control. So that could very easily affect their networks and their power structure in a very negative way, should you have thousands of people dying in key positions. So I am almost at a point, and I've interviewed quite a few doctors and researchers and experts in this area, all of them agreeing that the official story, absolute BS. And so it's like, do they even need the virus? Because the real virus is fear. It's the fear virus is the one. That is the one that has made us all surrender and just say, oh my God, I'll give up. I'll pull down my pants, you know, do whatever you want. I'll surrender for my own security. And so, but there is a difference. In Sweden, for instance, I feel there's a different agenda going on in Sweden. And it's almost like they have released something over there, because that's the place where I've seen real deaths and people that I know that have been really sick, but like from a cold that is worse than normal.
Well, in Sweden, they've done something different. I mean, they didn't lock the country down. The idea was that they were going to allow people to develop herd immunity. And from what I understand, although there have been deaths, I mean, that's essentially what's happening now. They never shut the economy down. People continue to go to work. People continue to go about their business. But I mean, you're right. I mean, there obviously are people who have actually died from something. And whether or not it was just a super flu that came up this season, or if it's just by virtue of the fact that they put people into nursing homes and pack them full. That's what's happened a lot of places in the United States. We've had a lot of nursing home deaths, but nothing else, you know? So, I mean, how many people have passed in Sweden as a result of coronavirus? Do you know any numbers?
Yeah, but the thing is, the thing is, you know, just because somebody gives you a number, what does that mean? It means somebody gave you a number. It doesn't mean that somebody died. And the more I look into these numbers, and they come from the CDC in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
They come from the Johns Hopkins Hospital that have made the map. I even interviewed the man who created that map, who said it's totally misinforming. I mean, it doesn't match up at all. And how do you create a map like that? He was the one. His name is John Collin. He used to work for what was the name in Silicon Valley, the Oracle, where the biggest customer and their very first customer ever was the CIA. Go figure. So when he suddenly saw his map being used like this, you know, he downloaded the official numbers from the CDC in Atlanta, Georgia, and compared it. It doesn't match up at all. He also says it's totally wrong to have a map that only shows red. You have like different colors to show different degrees. You know, normally you have green. These are areas that are clear. Yellow is sort of in the middle of a risk zone. Red, bad, bad, bad. Here, all the maps are super red. Red, 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 red. And so the numbers, I don't trust them at all. Absolutely. And then you ask about Sweden. Okay, in Sweden, there is in Solna, for instance, which is a part of Stockholm, they say, oh my God, we can't handle all of these dead bodies. What are we going to do with them? There's this vicar, no, he's not a vicar, but like the guy in charge of the church, he says, we're piling, it's so horrible for the relatives. We're piling the dead bodies on top of each other. What are we going to do? We don't know what to do. I've had people gone there. There's no one there. It's empty. So just because they say 3,400 deaths, I believe them as far as I can spit. Absolute, not that much. And also, do you know, in 2015, I kid you not, Bill Gates, of all people, were interviewed before the summer months and about what books he could recommend. You can find it on YouTube. And so what books would Bill Gates recommend when you're on vacation and want to spend an hour on the beach? One of the books, How to Lie with Statistics. It's like, I love it. I love it. Who would read, who would write a book like that? Or that's interesting for someone like myself, how you can lie with statistics, but that's not what it was called, how to lie. And Bill Gates, it's not, there's a video with him, he's sitting there, it's really interesting, you know, how this and this and that. That's exactly what they're doing. They're playing with our minds, ping pong with our minds, with statistics. So
Are you aware that Dr. Deborah Birx? She's the woman who's kind of leading the press conferences with Dr. Fauci here in the United States. She wears the scarves. She works at the CDC, I think.
Is she the pink?
She's, I mean, she's the woman who's front and center along with Dr. Fauci, the little guy. Well, she just recently came out and stated that she doesn't trust anything the CDC says because they're inflating the deaths here in America by as much as 30,000. I thought that was pretty stunning, that someone that I just assumed was a whole part of the operation actually now is, you know, kind of getting red-pilled on the whole situation. And then, go ahead.
No, this is how they do it. You know, like they push their plan, and then the more of us that are just saying like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, come on, it's a big joke. When they can't keep it anymore, they need to give us a little bone, you know, so they throw us a piece of meat, you know, okay, here. So they have someone step forward. I don't trust them. I've been deceived. I thought I was doing my job, and I have been. It's part of the game. They're trying also, the ship is going down, you know, and they're trying to save their own skin. Because we are billions, they are a few thousand in total, you know. So it's like the game is rigged against them. They've set themselves in a very, very horrible situation because their empire that used to be totally safe behind the curtains, Dorothy has pulled the curtain, and we see them. So where are they going to go? I don't envy them. I tell you, I do not envy them. But I would very much like if I can just go back to Sweden, because Sweden is, you know, the Stockholm syndrome, where you love your
captors.
Yeah, the prisoner loves his warden or whatever. But Sweden has been used as a beta or better test run place for years, I would say, because it's a perfect it's a perfect nation. It has an incredible reputation. You know, if you want to poster child, it's oh, the people are so beautiful, and you know, it's such a wonderful camp. There's no corruption, there are no crimes, there's no, you can trust the police, you can trust the, that's what we're being told. That's what I grew up with also believing. And then they started pushing in, my book is called Coup d'etat in slow motion. What happened when he died, Olof Palme, slowly, 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 now the nation, now I don't recognize it at all. Coup d'etat in slow motion. And so this is where then the normal Swede differs from other people, because this person is afraid of confrontations. They're very nice people, very gentle. They care about their animals, and they're really good at relationships and stuff like that. To stand up and say your opinion, wrong nation. The only way you can see an upset Swede is in the laundry room. If somebody has not cleaned the filter or something like that, you will get like a shotgun full of notes. How dare you? That's where the Swede steps forward. But otherwise than that, it's quiet, don't say anything. So it's a perfect nation to test out things and see how much can we push it. Can we push the agenda? Like, so Sweden was the first country with microchip passports. Now they're pushing the microchip for people. It's 99% cashless. I go there, I'm handicapped. I can't do anything without an app and a swish and a swash and a beep and a boop. You know, cash, you can't use it. You cannot use it anymore, which is very scary as well, because whoever controls your chip in the card or your hand or wherever controls you. If you don't behave, they can just turn you off. So, and also with this beautiful reputation of beautiful people, fantastic porn, all of these things, they have a poster child. And so if it goes down in Sweden, if the Swedes will do it, then you can push it to the next country and the next and the next. So here in Sweden, there's a totally different approach than in other countries. For one thing, it's not part of NATO officially. Unofficially, Sweden has been part of NATO since 1954, but the Swedes still believe that they're outside. So Sweden has been pushed in a different direction by the dark forces, the deep state. And and one of the things that they're trying, I would say, is to use Sweden as an example, because now suddenly, and I went out, and my tour organizer, we went out like a month ago saying soon Sweden will be used as an example, because what differs Sweden from other countries is it's cashless. And what was one of the first things they did in China was they were spraying the notes saying, oh my God, the virus is spreading from cash. So here we have a cashless society that takes a totally different approach. They don't stay at home. They don't, even though Swedes, you just have to say boo, and they will do it. They will just stand in line and do whatever. So many people have gone into the same time of isolation, but not by order. They have just done it voluntarily. So what they're pushing for now is saying the Swedish phenomena. Oh, look at them. They had the restaurants open and the cafes and everything went fine. What is the difference? It's the cash and the cashless. So cashless is good. Let's promote that one. But now they started doing that. The BBC and CNN were there and doing all the Swedish phenomena, people under the streets, and still no people dying more than other. But now they turn it around, twisting it another one. So now they're suddenly saying, no, now there's a lot of deaths in Sweden and a lot more than in Norway. So they're playing us. They're playing us, I tell you.
Wow. Well, Ole, we've gone over a little bit of the time that I thought we were going to have. So I want to let you know again how much I appreciate you being here. Please tell the audience one more time how they can find you and how they should be able to get in touch with you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show, and thank you for creating a platform for this type of information getting out there, because we're being shut down right, left, and center. So I applaud your bravery, and I thank you.
Thank you.
So my website is Light on Conspiracies, because that is what I try to do, spread light into the belly of the beast. Total fearless, approach, because it's through fear. That's the only way they can control us. So we need to become fearless and evolve. That's the way forward. Let go of fear and excel, be the best of you and impress yourself. So lightonconspiracies.com. If somebody would like to help me in what I'm trying to do, please. Finances are always the problem, because I'm being attacked from all kinds of directions, and so I've got donation buttons on my website. I'm on Patreon. I'm on so many different platforms because they shut me down, and I just try to find new avenues or ways all the time. I've got my monthly newsletter. That is also where you can see where I predicted something, and then when it happened. In the archives, you can just see, I said it, it happened. I said it, it happened. So it's not just empty words. I can back it up. I also got multiple books: Coup d'etat in slow motion, Shadow of Tears, Remind Me, Yolanda Yoga Panda. It's a children's book. And my sweetheart has also a book called So What Can I Do, which is an excellent book for people in the beginning of the awakening, where she interviewed David Icke and 7 other high-level researchers, giving their point of view of how to deal with this situation. So, yeah, I also give private sessions where I try to. The thing is that many people live in fear. I live in a beautiful world, and how am I? I live with so-called threats. My door can be knocked down. Am I enjoying life? I love it. So how to get from that? Some people are interested in finding out, how did you get from being shit scared to handle these kind of waves? And it's the same like learning how to surf. Small waves, bigger waves, practice. So I help people from fear to a beautiful life. So if you're interested, I would love if I can assist. So just contact me, info@lightonconspiracies, conspiracies plural, because there's so many going on, and I'll be most happy to coach you or help you or assist you if I can.
And that's lightonconspiracies.com?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, thank you again so much, Ole, for coming here. I hope that we can have you back in the future. There's obviously an incredible amount of information that we can talk about, and there's a lot of stuff I'd like to go into deeper questions on in the future.
For sure, I would love to be back. Use this, Rain Man. You use this one. What's in there, let it make some changes in the world for the good. It does no good just being up here. Let it. And whatever I can do, wherever I can do it, let me know. I'll be there. If it can be arranged somehow financially that I get to locate, or if I'm let out of the house to start with, that would be a good beginning. But anyway, and especially I try to reach police, military, and the so-called elite members themselves.
Hopefully you're going to be let out of quarantine soon. I know that where I'm at, everything's going to be opening up on Monday. I'm finally going to get a haircut. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about. So. All right. Well, Ole, thanks again for being here, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Don't touch that dial. I love this song. Hang in there, folks. I'm back. Oh my god, there's a double again. Hold on. Video capture device. There we go. All right, sweet. I just wanted to say, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It looked like you did from the chat in there. I need to say thank you to Gaffer Anon. What's up, buddy? Thank you so much. Good to see you. And then I also need to say thank you to a couple of other people. Don't want to miss anybody. Let's see. Well, while that's getting pulled up, okay, let's see. So Suzanne, she says, thank you for all that you do. You are appreciated. Christopher says the chains are off. Give them heck RP. Janet, thank you. Thank you, Janet. Silent Tree Naturals says prayers for you and yours. God bless. Thank you. Melanie says 4825. Thank you very much, Melanie. Stephen Cole. Thank you. Thank you for that one. I'm not going to say it on the air just because I got to make sure that they don't just delete the channel altogether. So, I have this new background. I don't know if I'm going to keep it forever, but I tried it out for the first time the other day on Thomas's channel. I think I like it a lot. It's like a brand new day here on the channel. Things are going to be a little bit different, but they're going to be the same, but I think they'll be better. when it comes down to it. So I feel like I should suggest this. I kept seeing people asking me what they can do, and I saw my mom was saying, "Oh, that was you, Crash. Oh, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it." My mom was saying that everybody can tweet at Team YouTube. Also, Team YouTube has a YouTube channel, but I think that tweeting at them, if there was like tens of thousands of people tweeting at them saying, you know, Red Pill 78 does not make hateful or abusive content, and you made a mistake, then there's a possibility that they might reinstate it. If they don't, I just want everybody to know I'm not going to starve. I'm going to keep living my life. I have survived on virtually no income for many years. You know, I mean, I was a starving grad student for plenty of time. And then before that, you know, I made sure that my daughter ate even if I couldn't. So I can survive either way. And the most important thing to me is that I'm here doing this channel, able to bring you guys the news and awesome interviews like I just had with Ole Dammegard. Do you guys like the new background? You know, it's like the dark to light, the sun is coming up, or maybe it's going down. I don't know. It could be either one, but I thought it was pretty cool. And, you know, I've actually got a whole bunch of these awesome backgrounds that I want to test out. So, you know, now that things are changed, I feel like putting a new one out there is something that makes sense. It just makes sense. All right, you guys. Well, you know, and like I said, no matter what, the fact that you guys are here is the absolute most important thing. I got a little bit of information about those the armored personnel carriers in Atlanta. Somebody on Twitter just said to me that it was filmed for a commercial. So it was a commercial that was being filmed. So I don't know. I guess I don't have any sauce on it. All I found was that article that I dropped into the chat that stated it was looters in Atlanta that were driving around on tanks, armored personnel carriers. I have images of those British FV-432 British APC. Yeah, Purple Mountain's Majesty. That's right, above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed his grace on thee. And then, you guys, don't forget, tomorrow, Dr. Michael Salla is going to be back. We're going to be talking about the secret space program. And this is one of those topics that I know like half the audience is going to love and half the other audience is going to hate. But please stick with me, because even if you don't believe in the secret space program, you might hear something that changes your mind about it. Now, that's really the whole thrust of the program, you know, to determine if some segment of our government has a secret space program. That means that we have some type of spaceships that are far more powerful than anything we know about publicly. I've always said that I think President Trump has created the Space Force so that we can disclose all of that amazing tech that we are using to zip around the solar system. I'm super excited about it. I love Dr. Salla. He's a great guy, and he has a sweet accent, too. I mean, that's totally awesome. All of my Australian brothers and sisters out there. So, you guys, tell me what you thought about Ole, because it looked like everybody really enjoyed it. I have a lot of fun with him. I've been following him since 2011. So for me to do that interview, it was like a big moment, okay? What's really cool about doing what I do now is that for years, I was just listening to other people interview these awesome people, and I was like, I would love to talk to that guy. My buddy Harry Hubbard in the chat was one of those people that I came across in my research, and I reached out to him and we became friends, and we got to know each other. So now I have the exact same experience almost on a daily basis, meeting all kinds of cool people, and not just people that I interview, but you guys in the audience as well, people that I get to hang out with and get to know, and you guys send me cool things, tips and things for me to investigate. It's pretty cool. Our Dr. D, I haven't scheduled him specifically. I had the Table of Titans boys all at once, but our doc, I would love to have him on. Now, we've actually gone over the 12 o'clock hour, guys, and I'm pretty sure that our doc is supposed to be... Isn't our doc supposed to be on right now, guys? Because I don't want to step on his toes, and I don't have YouTube pulled up. But basically, I would like for you guys to please go watch our doc if he is here. if he's on right now. Ole is, in fact, married. Unfortunately, he is married, yes. And they have children together, at least one, as far as I know. But basically, thank you very much for being here, guys. I appreciate your support. Don't forget to leave a like on your way out. If you haven't shared the show yet, please, consider sharing the show. And if you want to help out with getting the channel's monetization reinstated, you can go and send a message to Team YouTube. And maybe if everybody does it at, say, 12 o'clock their time, so then it comes in a bunch of waves tomorrow. We'll see what happens. All right, you guys, thank you so much once again. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.